14-5 absolute massacre at the Rogers Center to open the season, but the scoreboard isn't even the worst part of the story today. The Toronto Blue Jays just took a massive, devastating blow to their pitching depth, and the AL East battle hasn't even properly warmed up yet. Cody Ponce, the man who fought tooth and nail through spring training to earn his way back to the big leagues, was carted off the field after just 2.1 innings against the Colorado Rockies. A knee injury has completely derailed his redemption story, and now this front office is scrambling to figure out how to patch a bleeding pitching staff before this season spirals out of control. Let's break down exactly what happened, because the optics on this are brutal. Ponce was visibly in agonizing pain after running to first base. He managed to walk initially, but ultimately had to be taken off the field on a cart. Manager Schneider just addressed the media, and the update is grim, even if they are trying to play it cautiously. Schneider stated, he felt like there was a little hyperextension, just hoping for the best. Right now, Ponce is undergoing extensive evaluations by specialists, but anyone who has watched baseball for more than a minute knows that a pitcher hyperextending a knee while covering the bag or running the bases is a recipe for a long-term stint on the injured list. Looking at the roster moves today, this is a heartbreaking setback for a guy who hasn't pitched in the majors since 2021 with the Pittsburgh Pirates. Remember, Ponce had a disastrous 2021 campaign, posting a 7.04 ERA and an 0-6 record before packing his bags and heading to South Korea to reinvent himself. He grinded in the KBO, stayed active, and the Blue Jays front office saw enough underlying metrics and spin rate improvements to give him a shot. He survived the brutal spring training cuts. He was supposed to be that vital swingman, the innings eater who could bridge the gap or make a spot start when the grueling schedule demanded it. Now, that plan is completely up in smoke. So what does this mean for the strategic outlook of this baseball team? The domino effect of a starter or bulk guy going down in the third inning of the very first game is catastrophic for the bullpen. When you lose a game 14-5, your relievers are getting taxed immediately. The AL East is an absolute bloodbath. You cannot afford to burn out your high-leverage arms in April because you don't have a reliable long man. This puts an immense, suffocating pressure on the top of our rotation. Kevin Gausman, Jose Berrios, and Chris Bassett are now going to feel the heat to go 7 innings every single time they take the mound. Schneider's chessboard is missing a key piece, and the manager is going to have to make some incredibly tough decisions regarding pitch counts and bullpen management over the next 2 weeks. Let's dive deep into the roster analysis, because the front office has to make a move, and they have to make it in the next 24 hours. With Ponce likely heading to the 60-day IL to clear a 40-man roster spot, who gets the call? We have to look down at the Buffalo Bisons. Every Jays fan knows that our pitching depth was already a massive question mark heading into opening day. Do they rush a prospect? Do we see a guy like Bowden Francis forced into a larger role? What about Yariel Rodriguez? The front office might have to accelerate the timeline for some of these arms. If you look at the prospect watch, there are guys in Buffalo who are hungry, but are they ready for the bright lights of the Rogers Center and the pressure of a postseason push that starts on day 1? In my opinion, rushing a top prospect just to eat innings in blowouts is terrible asset management. But Ross Atkins and the front office might not have a choice. They might have to scour the waiver wire, looking for another team's spring training casualty, just to find a warm body who can throw 80 pitches every 5th day. The depth chart is being tested immediately, and it exposes a glaring vulnerability in how this roster was constructed over the winter. We relied heavily on bounce-back candidates and minor league deals with spring training invites to build our pitching depth. When you play Russian roulette with pitching health, sometimes you pull the trigger and find a bullet. That's exactly what happened with Cody Ponce. Let's talk about the fan sentiment and the media pulse, because the atmosphere around the city right now is incredibly tense. You tune into Sportsnet or TSN this morning, and the panic button is already being smashed. A 14-5 loss to a Rockies team that is projected to be one of the worst in the National League? That is unacceptable. But the Twitter and X timelines of Blue Jays Nation are less focused on the blowout and more focused on the curse of the pitching staff. Fans are frustrated. There was a cautious optimism heading into opening day. We thought the offense would bounce back. We thought Vladdy Jr. and George Springer would lead the charge. But nobody anticipated the pitching staff imploding and suffering a major injury before the weekend even arrived. The media is already questioning the front office's contingency plans. If Cody Ponce was the safety net, what happens when the safety net rips? The pulse of the fan base is a mixture of empathy for Ponce, because you never want to see a guy who worked so hard to get back to the show go down like that. and sheer terror at what this means for the bullpen tax over the next 15 games. We have a brutal stretch coming up. We are facing divisional rivals who will absolutely punish a fatigued bullpen. The Yankees and Orioles are licking their chops looking at our middle relief situation right now. Here is my verdict on the situation. The front office gambled on high upside, low floor arms to fill out the fringes of this roster, and they lost the very first bet. John Schneider is now managing with one hand tied behind his back. The immediate move has to be calling up a dedicated long reliever from Buffalo, even if it means sacrificing a bench bat. You cannot survive in the American League East with a short bullpen in April. It will ruin your arms for September. The Blue Jays need to eat this loss, support Cody Ponce in his recovery, and immediately pivot to a waiver claim or a minor league call-up to stop the bleeding. The season is a marathon, but stumbling out of the starting blocks and twisting your ankle is a terrible way to begin the race. This team has the talent to bounce back, but the margin for error just got razor thin. We need our veterans to step up. We need the offense to score 6 or 7 runs a night to take the pressure off this depleted staff, and we need the front office to work the phones relentlessly. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Who should the Blue Jays call up from Buffalo to replace Cody Ponce? Drop a Go Jays in the comments if you still believe this team can turn it around after a disastrous opening day. Make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to the channel for daily, relentless Blue Jays coverage, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an update from the Blue Jays Report. We are in this together, Blue Jays Nation. See you tomorrow.